opportunity, walk in, you don't know anything about them. By the time they walk out, you're grabbing a selfie with them.
Yeah,
That's what tonight can present for people.
And it's incredible, too, because we're looking over the fight card, and Jay and Will do such a great job of learning the fighters, knowing the fighters, but you see a lot of 1-0s, 2-0s, guys with relative inexperience, but how about the tremendous shape that they're in and all the skill that they're able to show on an amateur level? It's not low level, it's high level amateur. Is that something that you've been able to pick out?
Like the conditioning, what goes into this, the training when you step inside and actually see the opponent. So often you're training with maybe some similar styles, something different, but you watch these guys, you can feel the corner saying, hey, this is what we've been working on. Now's the time to turn it on. Let's make it happen. And you can feel, especially as the fight progresses, you can see a little bit more intensity pick it up and saying, this is what we've worked for. Let's make it happen.
Up next, we've got Ricky Jorge taking on Kyle Howell. And Jay, how would you break this one down from a perspective of who do you think has a slight advantage? What kind of style are we looking at here for this match?
Kyle's a very unassuming fighter. He's one of them guys, aesthetically, you're like, wow, that guy's not, he don't seem like he'd be a fighter. But he gets in there, he's got the zombie look where he's looking right through you. He wants it. Ricky trains from a really good camp. It's one of them things where, this is one of them fights where it could go either way. I know Kyle, his last fight, he impressed everybody because coming out, you can look at guys and go, he might be a little bit nervous. I'm not sure how, but look at him right now.
He looks very composed.
Yeah, his first fight, he was kind of, not a deer in the headlights, but the minute that bell rings, it's go time, and that's when you find out what you're made of.
And his opponent now, Ricky Jorge, making his way in. And I know, listen, Tom Gaz is joining us, Levac and Gaz. You can hear them. Why don't you go ahead and give a plug where people are able to hear your show and get your guys, your various podcasts and stuff.
Yes, Fox Sports 95.9, 980, Apple, Spotify. Just search Levac and Gaz, Levack and Gaz. I have to say this, guys. This is going to maybe catch you both off guard. There's a reason I think they gave me the headphones, because I know Ricky personally. I know Ricky well. Ricky works in an establishment on Wolf Road under an orange roof many years ago that we've had a lot of, let's just say we've been doing some wings and beers with Ricky. Ricky had a knee injury he's coming off of. He trained really well and came back, and he's always talked about doing this, saying, I want to fight, I want to fight. I'm so excited to see Ricky. I know the rules of the etiquette is you can't yell and scream in media row, but this was the fight I was going to yell and scream. So I won't do that, but I'm rooting for Ricky in this. I got to be professional, but I'm rooting for my man Ricky right now.
I love that you have a bit of a dog in the fight. We're going to bring it up to Mike Falvo in the cage for the official introductions
the
for
upcoming
our
contest in the card for Cage War 61, scheduled for 3 3-minute rounds. It is in our Bantamweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner. He weighed in last night at 132 pounds. Representing Combat Fitness Mixed Martial Arts out of Burlington, Vermont, Kyle Howell. His opponent across the cage, fighting out of the red corner. He weighed in last night at 135 pounds even. Representing the Henzo Gracie Academy out of Latham, New York, Ricky the Reaper George.
All right, Jorge versus
And the man
Howell.
in charge of the action at the sound of the bell is Dan Mergliotta.
And we have our special guest cage side announcer, Tom Gaz, here from Levac and Gaz. We're going to let you take the first 30 seconds all by yourself.
All right, guys, appreciate you.
And you know who's who because you actually have a relationship with one of the fighters.
That's right. Well, I think Ricky here is always going to kind of feel off the first 15 to 20 seconds. He's a smart fighter, kind of knows where his strengths can be. But if he gets a pop right there, we see kind of tying up a little bit of what his strength could be. It's tough. Again, coming off a knee injury, where do you feel like your advantage can be? Is it going to be speed? Is it going to be conditioning? Ricky came back from a torn ACL in about 5.5 months. You don't see NFL players do something like that. He wanted to do his own training. So you're going to see if that lower body strength can be the strength for him right now. As quickly as I say that, he does a takedown just like that.
5.5 months after a torn ACL, man. Oh, to be 20-something again.
Very impressive.
Yeah, with good PT, I'm sure. And a good start early on here for Jorge, who's in the red.
Ricky's good at that shoulder pressure. We got to watch his neck here.
Yeah, it looks like it's getting deep.
That neck was getting dangerous there. Ricky was able to get out, but you kind of saw that face lighten a little bit. It's a little bit of pressure and nerves, seeing where that head had slipped in there for a second.
And Jay, you can speak on this too. When you see, a grappling match, or at least early on, it starts on the ground. When you have a dominant position like this, they always talk about how it wears on your opponent, even if it doesn't look like it's, you're physically welt. When you're carrying another man's weight on you, it almost debilitates you.
Especially if you're in like side control, and you're exhaling diaphragm to diaphragm. That feels like a 100-pound person weighs 400 pounds, because you can't expend any air with that weight on you. It's utterly horrible. You got a guy that's pressure, it's even worse.
Jorge right now continues to be in the dominant position, and at least for the first 2 minutes of this match, looks like to have a pretty decent amount of control. Howell, though, relaxed, waiting, patient.
Keeping that keeps opening and closing his guard.
Now, is your stomach churning at all, Tom? Because it seems like this is a buddy of yours. He was waving at you during the intros and everything.
He did. He gave me the
That's
shout
your
out
dude,
there.
yeah.
I feel like parents and family and friends where you're like, this is a safe part. If you start hearing the crowd light up a little bit, they're going to stand up. They're going to go blow to blow. But right now, it's the same. I'm glad you mentioned the stomach here, because it'll start feeling a little bit different when you start seeing some shots above the body, above this position. So far, I feel okay. I think Ricky feels okay as well.
Now, an interesting.
Kyle,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Jay.
Kyle's trying to bump and float him over, but it's not going to work. He's got a Kimura on that side, but really ain't got anything into it.
Now
he's going to pull himself back on top of him is all he's going to do.
Now, with this level MMA, guys, you probably know this, there is no ground and pound to the face, only to the body, so that takes some of the superpowers away from these guys.
Round one. Good
round by Ricky Jorge.
Kyle remained calm in a couple of them positions. That digging that head into the chin, and that forward pressure on the from forehead to shoulder, not fun.
Jay, I've got a question for you. When you see fights like this too, when you're at this level, is it harder for judges like rounds like that to figure out where the momentum's going? It feels like a slower round like that. It's so difficult for even experienced minds.
Yeah, because they're not well-rounded yet, so it's kind of, you think it's going someplace and it goes the other way. Where the more professional you get, or where you become professional, you're more tactician-wise. I got to go and utilize this game plan. This is kind of like more free flow. Like, I'm going to go here, and then the judge can be like, "Oh, well, I was going to score. Oh, now I got to do this."
Right.
So yeah.
Now that's a nice way for me to say. I don't know who won that round.
Yeah,
Thank you for covering me there. I appreciate that.
I think that. Jorge.
He definitely. Kyle was a little bit more active on the ground than we've seen other people be tonight. So.
Interesting fight here. Good matchup here between Howell and Jorge. Jorge in the red, Howell in the blue. This is our featured prelim. Our main card starts after this one here tonight. Still 5 fights left to go, including 2 title fights in our main card here at Rivers for Cage Wars 61. We're hanging out here with Tom Gaz, who's stepped in as one of our guest ringside commentators. You can hear Tom, Gaz, and Levac. Levac and Gaz is back. You are on all of the iHeart, Apple streaming services. There's a million ways for them to access you, correct?
Yes, weekdays 3 to 5. You're listening on the Capital Region, on the app, the iHeart app, Apple, Spotify. Always talking sports. By the way, we're going to be here Sunday 11 to 1 here at Rivers Casino, so make sure to stop in. Get those NFL wagers in and more, so we'll be all over the place, and maybe we'll even give you a winner. That's what we're hoping for.
I heard you guys do the NFL picks, also do fantasy picks too, which is huge for a lot of people.
Yes, the hope is you cash in some of those tickets. Last week was not good for me. It's a little bit more difficult than I realized. Eventually, I'll brag about my picks next time you guys have me on. I don't know when that will be.
Ricky doing a lot of work on the pressure.
Your guy looks good. Your guy looks good, guys.
Yeah, this is where he wants to be right now. You're just talking about pressure there, Jay and Brian. Like this is where he wants this fight to be right now. He found his strength. He found his opponent's weakness, and I think he's going to continue to roll with this through round number 2.
And if you're Howell right now, I mean, listen, your only path is to somehow you've got to get out.
You got to create some sort of space.
And you got to buck, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got to get the hips, but Jorge's got his legs and his feet. When your feet are touching, it's so hard to get your legs up because Kyle, I almost forgot his name here. You can't really do much. Even if you do buck, you're not really going anyplace because he's got a nice, I mean, it's not even called a grapevine. It's, we call it a triangle with his feet. But
yeah, he can't, you're right, he can't use his legs for leverage because they're bound.
Yeah. I mean, he's starting to create space with the knee across the belly from the bottom, but there's just so much pressure that Ricky's applying right now.
Have you and Levac ever done any sparring against one another or anything like that?
No,
it feels like that would be one hell of a promotion.
It would. I mean, when we sat down, we thought, you know what? We just had dinner. We don't want to weigh in right now. I don't know if they'd find a weight class for us at this point. It would have to be a very
Mega
heated
heavy
segment, right? It'd be Raiders, Buccaneers, 03 talk.
Oh,
But we're
right.
not going to spar. I don't know who would want to watch it, but it would be entertaining, Brian. I do agree with that.
Oh, I know I would. And I know a bunch of former colleagues of yours that probably would enjoy that as well, my friend.
Nice. Right back into his guard, but a lot of pressure by Ricky for sure.
Yeah, really good job.
It's just so frustrating because he can't punch him to the face. You gotta look for an opening in the body, which is good, but you know you want to punch to the face.
Yeah.
Which, being amateur, you get that conditioning where you have to be disciplined. I can't punch to the face because I've seen guys come in here and forget what they're doing.
Exactly. It's almost harder in real time to have to retrain your brain. I mean, imagine, you know, we watch so much UFC. These guys are fans before they enter the cage.
Yeah.
I mean, ground and pound is the UFC. It must take every shred of discipline to not want to punch the guy in the face when that's why you're in the sport.
And Brian, you know this, as radio guys that we are, you develop good habits and bad habits. Whatever profession you have, sometimes having those bad habits get out of the way early in your career. You're talking about, Jay, hey, if I got a guy down and I'm missing my punches or I'm not, you kind of develop your game, and you can't do this at this point. But at some point, as these guys develop and put the training in, those habits will find out ways to get fixed. Maybe not.
Absolutely.
In radio, you and I get to have headphones on. They got a different way to fix their bad habits, right?
You got a mouthpiece in.
That's right.
Third round here. Pretty dominant first two by Jorge. Howell has to do something. He knows that.
He's got his stuff to take down, and Ricky's got such a good.
And now is it when he needs to, when his legs aren't bound, now is when he's got to do everything in his power to try to buck and get out of that situation because.
Yeah, he's got to find a way to create some space to get up. I mean, he's against the cage, which works in his favor, but if Ricky's going to keep that pressure on him, he can't move anywhere.
Even though Ricky's doing well, you got to wonder if Howell's just so frustrated, too. Like, if this is not the fight I wanted, and Ricky set the pace in this fight the whole time, that I'm sure if Howell goes back and watches the tape and says, man, if I could just fought that off, what could I have done standing up against Ricky and see what he could have been able to do?
Yeah. Which in the first exchange, he was actually doing pretty good.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I agree. Frustrating does seem like the right way to describe that, right?
Yeah.
Because you're out of options at this point. I mean, it's just, you know.
Right, you got to hope you can stand up, but Ricky's doing such a good job keeping him down. You got to hope, and especially if you're losing in the cards right now, or pull off a wild submission.
Which he went for it.
You can tell Kyle's frustrated because he goes from closing his guard to opening his guard to trying to sneak out the side, to putting his knee across the belly from bottom. Now he's trying to throw up for something. I mean, can't go for a heel hook because they're not legal. I don't believe knee bars are either. Oh, back take.
Oh.
Well, you know, a good
with
job.
1:15 left. That's
a nice job by Howell, just showing some life with about a minute left to go.
He didn't get so frustrated he gave up.
Wow. He's working it.
He's got both hooks in. He's got total control.
I think he's going to get this, Jay.
He's got it under his chin almost.
Oh, man.
Which Ricky needs to put all that weight to that side so he can't move his right arm.
And
he's doing a good job.
And he's got almost a full minute to work.
Yeah.
This is a dramatic change of events here.
He shook him off.
Great job by Jorge.
You get so sweaty, you can't maintain that position very long.
Ricky was just one move away, though. Howell was so close. He slipped right out of that.
Yep.
Whoa.
A really nice job there, too, by Ricky.
Let's see, Ricky's just going to ride this one out. He's in a safe spot right now.
Yeah, likely scored himself a decision. We're in our third and final round. 15 seconds left to go.
He's digging that chin right in the chest, trying to make him uncomfortable. Guy's trying to throw up for something. A Hail Mary.
Guys, you called your first MMA fight. Hell of a job.
Thank
Seriously.
you, Brian. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you guys taking me through it.
This is
Good luck to you, my friend.
We
You're
gotta-
just crushing it.
well. You got to stay for the decision. We're not leaving yet.
Okay, don't let me down.
Yeah.
Levesque's going to hop in here and say he's going to beat me in a fight and what
Oh,
was
I know
guys
he is.
saying about me.
Yeah.
I'm looking behind my shoulder right now. This is what radio partners do. Where are they? I don't know.
I think Jorge probably did enough to get himself a decision victory there. Now on your show, the hot topic this week, you guys are doing Giants and Jets. It's Aaron Rodgers and New York Giants football, right?
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, especially
a lot of that.
How were the Jets and Giants going to bounce back? The Giants getting embarrassed. If I remember correctly, aren't you a Cowboys fan?
I am a big Dallas Cowboys fan.
I was going to say,
yeah.
I was going to say, I thought that leaned in your favor of your boys looking to 1-0, and then look, Jay, careful! I'm sorry, I didn't know if he knew. And then the Jets, of course, how they going to bounce back? I should say bounce back. They won the game. People forget they actually did beat the Bills. But how does the rest of the season go?
Let me ask you this, and you're a guy. You have like a Heisman vote, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes.
He's got he's credentialed beyond credentialed. In the history of New York football sports, was there ever a worse weekend for all three of those football teams? Or at least opening weekend. And I know that the Jets ended up getting a win, but they probably took the biggest shot of anybody.
I would say it's hard off the top of my head to think of a worse week one with the blowout loss to the Giants, the Bills losing that game, and like you mentioned, the Jets win the game, but their star quarterback, there's Ricky right there. Shout out to Ricky.
There's this guy.
It was a tough week. And all three of those teams were Super Bowl contention. And it's still going to happen, but week 2 we're going to kind of find out the mirage. Is it real? Is it a mirage? We're going to find more and more about those teams coming up here in week 2.
As the smoke clears.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And we will send it up to the cage and turn it into Mike Falvo for our official decision.
Let's have a round of applause for these two great fighters, ladies and gentlemen. After 3 hard-fought rounds of mixed martial arts action, we go to the official scorecard. The judges have scored the fight 30-27, 30-27, and 29-28 for your winner by way of unanimous decision. Out of the red corner, Ricky George.
There you go.
Yep, dominant win.
And now